Hello again, Sandy Moss here in my closet, and something I found at a recent flea market I'd like to share with you today. It's this implement here. It's made of wood. It has some of the tines are broken here. This is an old thing. It's been battered, but there are 4 wood tines that are carved out of this sort of square base of the fork, and that behind it is carved into sort of 2 offset pyramid shaped pieces of wood, and that continues on as a hand carved circular shaft with flanges on it, and beyond that it shapes down into a sort of a flattened on the top side spatula like end with kind of if you think of the bottom of a boat hull underneath it. I bought this at a flea market, and the fellow who was selling it, who was an English gent, when I asked him what it was, he told me it was a washing stick. It was used for taking a tub of hot soapy water in the old days and agitating the stick to move the clothes around in the soapy water and then rinse them off and so forth. So he called it a washing stick. Well, I knew this wasn't the fact because these 4 tines are pretty diagnostic, along with, we'll look at some close-ups of it, real fine chip carving and very carefully carved flanges here out of a single piece of wood. And this feature having 4 tines is very typical of Fijian, that is from the island of Fiji in the central western part of the Pacific, where at one time back before the 1850s cannibalism reigned, and these things were known as cannibal forks, and it was considered taboo for someone eating human flesh, which is what cannibals do as a matter of course, to allow the meat to touch their lips when they eat it. And the idea was to spear a piece of meat with these 4 tine forks, and these would usually be royalty, kings of a particular tribe or whatever, who were then fed by their underlings, who would take a piece of meat on the tips of these forks and gently push it between the lips so that the lips didn't touch the meat. And that was supposedly, to keep it from being taboo, to eat human flesh in a way that touched the mouth. And I thought, wow, there's a cannibal fork. It's not a washing stick at all. And I've checked with experts in Polynesian culture, and that's what it is. The fine carving, which we'll see in a little bit, is very diagnostic of the island of Fiji, which sits way out in the western part of the Central Pacific, and that's where this kind of activity went on. So I'm not sure. This is a highly unusual one. Most of the ones that you'll see in museums are about this long and have a handle, and then the 4 tines, sometimes quite long, delicate tines going off it. But this one is unusual because it has this long handle. And the person to whom I showed this to in the museum said he'd never seen one like this before, but it's clearly a cannibal fork, and maybe it's just for handling large cuts of meat. I don't know. It's of a distinctive size and very unusual shape here. So in the close-up, you can see these very fine chip carved circles going around the shaft. The flanges here. Here's another set of these chip carved circles going around the shaft, and these, I don't know if we can see this or not, but these have been cut by a chisel and sharpened by a chisel to make these sharp points. And again, more of that diagnostic Fijian carving here. This is very hard wood. I don't know what kind of wood it is, but it's certainly one of the native tropical woods found on Fiji and other islands in the Central Pacific. So there's something you're not likely to see again.